Hello, hello, hello! Welcome to my monthly favorites video for May of 2021. In this edition, I'm going to be talking about a book, a dish that I made, a place, a song, an album, or just kind of like a song, a purchase, a documentary, a show, and an activity that I really love for the month of May. So for this first one, I've been reading this book, which is like a memoir and an autobiography, and it's like I already finished this book. And it's called Please Enjoy Your Happiness. It's by this guy, Paul Brinkley Rogers, and he's like such a great journalist and a writer. But basically, this is like the story of when he was 19. He was stationed in Japan on the Shangri-La warship, which is like, you know, when the US kind of like waged war in Japan. And he fell in love with this woman who he met there, an older woman named Yukiko, and like, it just shows his kind of like timeless memory and this kind of like love that they had, which is not really physical, but it was kind of like everything about poetry and philosophy and looking at the grander state of the world. Like, and the book was just so awesome because of his experiences. And the book basically starts out, he's like 80, he's like 70, 80 now. And like, it starts out with him at his house, spread out, and all across the bed are letters he wrote to Yukiko and letters she wrote back to him. And it was just like, it's really cool because he has like the letters inside of here, and basically the entire book is written as an address to Yukiko. So it's like, I'll read out like even just one sentence. Hummingbirds are sipping sweet red nectar out of a feeder hanging in front of the green window through which I can see my garden. And it's just like, he describes everything with some beautiful poignance and like detail. And there's also this quote that I really love right here in the book. It's by Cicero. If you have a garden and a library, you have everything you need. I'm like, wow, that's kind of nice. And basically at home, I have a garden like outside, and I have a library right here. And so like, I have everything I need. And I just felt like this book was super amazing because it got me thinking about like what life would be like in like the 1950s, and it got me thinking about like he was 19 when he was describing all the events of this book, and I'm 19 right now, and it's just making me think about like the vastly different world experiences everyone has, and the experiences I would want to, you know, create in the future. And the second thing that was part of my monthly favorites was a dish that I made. So I basically made like Banh, which is like Vietnamese, like a Vietnamese sandwich, which stands for bread in Vietnamese, Banh, or some people pronounce it Banh mi, like without the tones, but with the tones. I made that, and I had a cookbook that I got from my library, and it was like the coolest thing because I was just walking in my library, which like I was looking for different books, kind of like, you know, Please Enjoy Your Happiness. And then I just happened to see like on the new arrival spot, there was like this really beautiful cookbook. And I was like, wow, this is really nice. So I just picked it up because libraries are free and I just got to check it out. And I was looking through the whole book and I saw like there was this banh mi that had like lemongrass beef. And like it showed you how to make your own dojua, which is kind of like this, it's like this vinegared kind of pickled radish and carrot, and it's like it's kind of like fragrant with like very vinegary, but it like tastes really good because it's like salty and a little bit it helps with like balancing the umami flavors of like all the beef and all the meat. So yeah, I cooked every piece of it myself. Like my mom bought all the ingredients with like the carrots and the radish and the meat, and I literally took like 5 hours the night before I made it, like cutting it, marinating it, getting prepared for like the salad, getting prepared for like the sides. And I was just so fulfilled when I finally made it for my family because my mom went out to get like banh mi, which is like the bread part of it. And then we got it home and I cut it up and I fried all the meat like for each individual person, and I put it in the sandwich, and it looks super pretty. And I'm sure there's gonna be a photo of it somewhere, but it was super pretty and yummy. And I want to cook for my family again because I feel like it's a way for me to embrace my own Vietnamese, Chinese, Vietnamese, American culture. That's like 3 cultures in one. Oh my God. And I want to like embrace my heritage through cooking. So that's a little bit of my plan. And oh my God, this next one, a favorite place I've been to in the month of May. So basically 2 weeks ago, like in the middle of May, I think this was like May 13th, 14th-ish, I drove down to San Diego to perform for like the TEDx. Not for TEDx, but I performed for the alumni group at UCSD. They asked me to kind of like close off their opening ceremony for all the alumni, like all the alumni at UCSD who were tuning into this online event. Like they paid for me to perform. I was down in San Diego. I was right by the beach. There were these huge cameras, like bigger than the camera I have now, bigger than my face, right? The cameras were bigger than my face, and there were like 2 of them. And then there were also these like huge, nice stage lights, and I was mic'd up with like the performance mic where I had like, you know, it wraps around your ear and it tapes at the side. There's also a little package that you put on your pants, and I felt like I was back on stage in high school because I used to do that all the time for high school. And so it felt really good, and the performance was really fun, and I think I crushed it. And basically on the way back, going north from San Diego back to LA where I'm at right now, there's like an option to, like there's always like multiple options to go from San Diego to LA or LA to San Diego, but the way I went was on the north, I think it's North Highway 101 in San Diego, and it's just the most beautiful drive ever. Like you're basically driving like right along the coast, and like 100 feet to your left, because I was driving north, 100 feet to my left was like the beach and the sand. And so like you would just go kind of like right along the coast for like 30 miles. And I just went through that whole route, and I was like, this is so freaking beautiful. And there was like bikers on the side, and there was people like parking their trucks and, you know, pitching up their tents and everything. And I just really, really enjoyed that whole scene. And I like rolled down all the windows. I opened the sunroof, and I was like, let's go. And I didn't let go of both hands, so no injuries. But I was super hyped to be like on North Highway 101. And I was also visiting a friend along the way to go back to Los Angeles. And I stopped by this place called VG's Bakery. And it's in a city called Cardiff by the Sea. And it's just a really, really neat small bakery that has like this huge array of donuts, and cookies and pastries and macarons. And so the only 2 things I got, which were amazing by the way, were like these 2 macarons. And sometimes I think like macarons are pronounced macaroons or the other way or vice versa. But the ones I'm talking about are like the coconut ones. And then one of them I got was like coconut thing, and then they half dipped it in chocolate. I love chocolate, so I ate that. And then there was another one that was gluten-free that was just made up of chocolate, and I was like, give me some of those. So I got that, and then we also had pizza together, and we were at the beach just sitting and chilling, and it was just really nice. I'm really grateful and really blessed to be, you know, double vaxxed, and for that to already have, you know, taken course in my own life. So I'm really glad that I got to go down there. And yeah, after we ate pizza, like I just drove back to Los Angeles and I came home. It was a nice performance, a nice weekend trip. The next thing that I really loved in the month of May was a song, and it's from an album that I also really love, but it's the song Head Over Heels / Broken by Tears for Fears. And Tears for Fears is like they were like popping off like in the 80s and like a lot earlier before I was born. Like they're like maybe 2 or 3 times my age, but the song and the music production and all of like the elements and like the synths and like the vocals and the drums and everything is so potent, and it just feels really good. So if you haven't had a chance, take a listen to it. Tears for Fears, and the song is called Head Over Heels. And I just feel like the guy, I forgot his name, but the guy's falsetto is super, super amazing. And like whenever he's singing in falsetto, I just feel like, man, it's such a great song, and his voice is really, really great. It reminds me of like, if you've ever listened to September by Earth, Wind and Fire. It reminds me of that. Like he has that like really thick quality in his falsetto voice, and it just sounds amazing. And I even analyzed it for one of my classes I take at UCSD with Professor King Britt. It's for like a music production class, and I got to analyze the song. I was like, this is the production elements I like. I learned about like how they use delay and how they use reverb and how they use like all the actual elements that we were learning in class, and I applied it to like, oh, I hear that in the song. And it's just really cool because, you know, just a year ago, I wasn't able to listen to music like and critique it on a really individual level. and I couldn't hear different sounds. But now I can hear things like reverb. I can tell if something is like has a delay. I can tell like if there's an EQ on it, and if so, like what kind of effects are on there. And so I'm really happy with how far I've gotten in listening. And the album that Head Over Heels / Broken is from The Big Chair. Songs from The Big Chair by Tears for Fears. It's like this really nice black and white album that it's just classic stuff. If you have a song that is similar to Tears for Fears, Head Over Heels, comment it down below or just send me a DM on Instagram because I would love to hear more songs like that. And then a purchase that I really enjoyed in the month of May was Frisbees. So I was playing Frisbee with my mom like a month or two ago, and we were out on the front lawn, and I was just throwing with her. It was in the morning, and I was like, oh yeah, Mom, I bet you can't catch this. And I throw it all the way up, and then it goes a little bit too high, and then it lands on the roof. And I'm like, I can't get on the roof. We don't have a ladder. And my mom is like, well, I guess you can just wait for your uncle. And so I've been waiting for my uncle, but then like every time I want to ask for the ladder, like I forget about it. And so it's just like, the Frisbee's been up there. I'm sure I'll get it sometime soon. It's like something I've had since high school, so like 3 or 4 years by now. But I bought 2 Frisbees, and I went to Venice Beach, and I was throwing with my friend, and we were at the beach, and it was just super nice. And it was just a great experience. Like throwing Frisbee is just really calming, and it's like a nice conversational thing where you can have it and you just throw it, you can talk, ask, and do all these things. So here's one of the Frisbees that I bought. This one's a glow this one's a glow in the dark one. So it's like there's like a star, and this is like, I don't know what they call it online. I got it on Amazon. It's like there's like 175 millimeter or something. It's like the USA Ultimate 175 gram, not millimeter, sport disc. And they're pretty solid, like for throwing. Like sometimes Frisbee kind of sucks if you have like those really cheap discs. But if you get a disc like that, which only costs like $15 at max, right? It's really worth it. Like you can just go anywhere. You can go to a park. You can go to the beach. You can go with like, I don't know, any open space and just play Frisbee. And it's just a nice way to get cardio in. But I don't even think of it that way. I just love the sensation of having a throw and just going whoosh, and it going exactly where I see it in my mind. And yeah, Venice Beach, Frisbee, can't go wrong with that. The next thing I really loved in the month of May is a documentary that I'm only halfway through, but like, because I was so tired, and I actually watched that documentary the same day I came back from Venice Beach, but I was just way too tired. And the documentary is Be Water by Bruce Lee. Not necessarily by Bruce Lee because he's passed away, but his daughter created the documentary called Be Water. And I was just captivated by how Bruce Lee, just in general, by how Bruce Lee like took a lifestyle that was very unorthodox. Like he was an Asian American actor. He was from Hong Kong. He got started there first. And then he came to the US, and he was one of the first people that decided to openly teach Kung Fu to like Westerner people, right? And it was just really interesting to see like his development from being like 18, 19, which is again the age like I'm in right now, to him like becoming more of a movie star, even though he was already a child actor and he was already a star, which I didn't know that before. And then him taking it to the US and, you know, going to UW, University of Washington, maybe like 10 hours, more than 10 hours north of where I am. And yeah, like I just really enjoyed it. And one of the quotes I loved, I don't think it's in the documentary, but I saw it like on a tweet or in his obituary, was many people just live for the self-image, and we forget the difference between self-image actualization and self-actualization. And so basically to me, what the quote means is like, there are different things in our lives when we have dreams. And like when I say like I have a dream to do this and I think I want to be this person, like a lot of that comes from like what society has put on me, especially when I hadn't reflected on it before. Like before I was in college, I wanted to be like a computer science coder. I wanted to do different things, like just for example, I wanted to do all these things, and I was living for the self-image of what I should be according to other people, right? And so Bruce Lee says a lot of people live for that, but in reality, like the most fulfilling thing we can do in our lives is live for self-actualization. And that just means like self-actualization is not putting expectations on what we should be, and rather just being the best we can right now and doing that every single day in and day out. It's building our own character from whatever we truly value and using like a reflective mindset to take everything in and just go from there. So the last two things, one of the last things I loved in the month of May was a show, and this is a show on Netflix, but it wasn't on Netflix first. I mean, it was in Japan first. It was an anime, and if you hadn't guessed it already, when I was growing up, I always loved watching anime. And one anime I loved was Naruto. And like, I know Naruto Shippuden, like Naruto Shippuden finished when I was in like high school. And then there's also Boruto, but we don't speak of that because I haven't watched it, but like I've also not heard the best things about it. But like I went back to watching like the very first season and the first like 10, 15 episodes of Naruto. And it just reminded me of like being a child again and like having a childlike wonder and having fun with like all the challenges and all the, you know, relationships I have. And I think like some people actually, like I used to knock on anime when after I finished middle school and I was like completely binging it every day, and then I was in high school and I was like, you know what, anime is not cool, because I was trying to disassociate myself from that like really insecure middle school kind of kid that I was. But now looking back at it, like it's really cool to see it as a reflection of the human experience, because it's like in anime, it's like the characters, yes, they do have their own like responses and their own words and their own personalities, but it's just like extrapolated and exaggerated from who we are as people. And so even watching anime and watching Naruto, I can like find actual life lessons from like, oh my God, this character is doing this and they thought this before, and I can just apply that thing to my own life. And I know it sounds kind of weird to be like, I'm learning spiritual life lessons from Naruto, but I am, so it's lit. And the last thing that I really loved in the month of May, and this is not the last thing, but just last thing I guess I'm sharing, is an activity that I did. I was painting with my cousins. And so I think you can see there are some like canvases right here, and there's also the painting that I actually made right here. I'll get that in a second. But I was like cooking dinner for my family, and some of my cousins came over, and I just got like all my canvases out, and I got like the paint supplies out, and I was like, all right, let's just make something. And so we ended up making, at least me and two of my cousins, we made this painting right here. And it's kind of hard to see. I'm not sure how it looks like, but basically we were thinking of like creating something like space. So we started with this black background. And then after that, like we had like all these colors and all these layers that we wanted to put on. So we did that. And then eventually we found out that like, oh, this actually looks kind of cool. Like we want to put an inspirational quote on it. And my cousin was like, oh, I can't think of anything that's less than like 3 sentences. And I'm like, wow, you can't put like on a painting, that's like too many characters, right? So I was like, how about we just put it as now? And so we were like, we just roll with it. So we have the N right here, and then the O, which is almost like a planet, and then we did like some splatter paint so you could see all of this. So you can see all of that rich detail. And then we did the W, which is kind of like faded into the cosmos or whatever. And it was really fun because we experimented with like just doing it regularly. We did flicking paint. We had the actual paint bottles and we poured it on there, and you can see like these droplets. Like that's how we got to there. And I love experimenting with paint like this. And it was just really fun. So I'm gonna hold it up for a couple of seconds just so we can all see that. And I won't talk for a little bit. But yeah, those were like my favorite things in all of the month of May. So, you know, we had the book, Please Enjoy Your Happiness. We had like the drive down to North Highway 101 in San Diego. We had the painting. We had like going to Venice Beach, playing Frisbee. We have Naruto. We have Bruce Lee. Like honestly, May was like a pretty great month. And we are basically halfway through 2021. So I don't know. It's kind of a good feeling to know that a lot of the year has been like going really well, and you know there's been their fair share of challenges, and not everything in my life is like super amazing, but like I'm really glad to have the opportunity to like really reflect on all these things that I really love throughout my month, and I'm happy I could share that with you. So this is the whole conclusion for monthly favorites of 2021 for May. Peace out.